And this week we are talking about True Detective. We'll do a couple minutes non-spoilers, and then we'll go full spoilers for the season. True Detective Night Country is the fourth installment in the acclaimed anthology series and stars Jodie Foster, Callie Reese, Fenn Bennett, Isabella LeBlanc, John Hawkes, and Christopher Eccleston. This new season follows Detective Liz Danvers and Alaska State Trooper Evangeline Navarro as they navigate their personal relationships and investigate the suspicious deaths of a group of scientists and how those deaths may be connected to a case from their past, all during the long Alaskan winter that is at night. Niles, what are your initial thoughts on True Detective Night Country?
Well, I think let's set some context before we share our initial thoughts so people understand our familiarity with the series too. You introduced me to True Detective several years ago, back when you were in college, and so I've seen the first season. We just
10 years
rewatched
ago
it.
now.
Yeah, the original show. It's been a while since we've seen that, but my partner and I, we rewatched it. I kind of did a half rewatch, so I wasn't watching or paying entire attention to it, but got those events more fresh in my brain, which is nice. Did not even touch season 2.
Okay.
We got 3 episodes into season 3 before I lost interest in it. So, it was, it just didn't grab me. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just because it was just like one episode at a time, the release schedule and stuff. And I feel like with detective and crime shows, you really do need to have all the information. You need to remember it very clearly, or else you're just going to lose interest. And when it's released one episode at a time and you're not very interested in the case, it can be easy to get lost. That's why I didn't finish it. Maybe one day I'll go back and finish season 3. But I think season 4 was more or less a return to form for this intellectual property, in my opinion. I think the middle section of the season, like episode 3, 4, they kind of drag a little bit, and it's kind of the clunkiest part of the story, I think. But maybe that's kind of the case with a lot of detective shows too. But season 1, it felt like lightning in a bottle. It was so good. It was like the characters drove that show. Like Russ Cole is still just like one of my top, like probably 10, 20 characters of all time. I just think he's so fucking awesome. He's so amazing. And it's so hard to recapture that magic. And I think season 4, they did a pretty good job of getting close to that goal, in my opinion. And I thought it was super cool. This Night Country season, I feel like mysticism and supernatural phenomena, they're always kind of adjacent to the series. They're loose in there. There's some things that are unexplained, like season 1, I think, with the whole kind of backwoods country redneck
the Yellow
vibe,
King, all that stuff.
Yeah, with the spiral and this kind of cult thing going on. It's really weird. And you're like, what's going on here? There's got to be something supernatural. And I think Night Country embodies that here really strongly, too. I really like the aesthetics, the atmosphere, the overall vibe, and it's such a cool idea to like set a TV show about crime and detective work in Alaska during this long stretch of time when there's no sun. It's like that. Why have I never seen a show like this before?
Right.
What about you, Dylan? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll give some background on where I stand with the series as well. So I found season 1 as it was airing week to week. It was our freshman year of college, and a buddy of mine and I watched it all. I remember this was back before HBO figured out how to do their servers properly. So every time there was a big episode, the app would crash. So it took us like 3.5 hours to watch the True Detective season 1 finale, and it was so worth it because that season, I think, is still one of the best things that's ever been on television. I watched season 2 as well. I thought it was a significant step down from season 1, although I did like a lot of the characters and performances, and I still think it's a pretty solid season of TV. It's just coming off of one of the best things I'd ever watched. It did not match that high bar, and because of that, and just because of the amount of time that had passed, I never watched season 3. I've been meaning to go back to it for a long time, and I just always forget, but I would like to check it out. But I was really excited for this. The idea of setting it in this long night of the Alaskan winter, I thought was really intriguing. And I will say that definitely paid off. I think the atmosphere gave a great sense of eeriness and like disorientation to the whole season, which I think really plays into the True Detective vibe.
Yeah.
And I also had some moments throughout the season that made my skin crawl a little bit. I thought there were a lot of creepy things going on, and I liked that. I think that's important. And like I enjoyed watching it and looked forward to it each week, but I do think it was done a disservice by being labeled as a season of True Detective. Because one, you're going to invite that comparison to season 1, which nothing is going to hold up to, and two, as I'll talk about more in spoilers, I almost think this is too different in identity to really feel like True Detective, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Still good. It's just the name of the show invites a certain expectation, as I've seen a lot of people say, and I don't think this show was necessarily interested in delivering on some of those. So.
No, that's fair. Yeah. Well, I think the show True Detective as like an intellectual property, I think it's defined by this this premise of diving deep into the complicated personal and professional lives of these very messy detectives, these very messy law enforcement professionals. And season 1, like we've been saying, it's really hard to beat that. And it's such a character driven story too. You have like Russ Cole, who's this like totally out there weirdo who just like no one respects within the department. He's just like so outlandish. Like he comes up with the strangest theories, and like he speaks in like limericks. He's like such a weirdo. And then you have Woody Harrelson's character Marty. And he's and he's just like a total piece of shit in all respects.
He's like your straight-edged cop, except he is a serial cheater.
Yes, exactly. Like people respect him, but he's a scumbag. And so I kind of get what we were coming from there, Dylan. Like this season 4 here, it doesn't. You do have these 2 lead detectives played by Jodie Foster and Callie Raz. And they do a great job, and it's very it's still a character-driven show, and these leads are complicated, which we'll get into in just a second, but it is kind of more spread out. There's more characters in play here that get more screen time than you would say in the first season, so it does have a little bit of a different feel, but you do have some similar motifs throughout.
Yeah, and I will also say this is the first season of True Detective not made by the original creator, Nick Pizzolatto, I think is how you say his last name. So that is worth noting. Also, he's been kind of a sack of shit about this season on social media, just saying like really negative and petty shit about it. I don't know if he was forced out by HBO. If he was, that's awful. But like, I don't know. You don't need to tear down other artists' work as it's coming out. And the showrunner of this show handled that with a lot more tact and grace than he did.
That's good.
So that always sucks to see, because it's like do I put this on the same level as season 1? No, of course not. But I don't want this to be just like a comparison to season 1 either. The show does stand on its own. That is the nice thing about it being an anthology. Even if you hate this, even if you hated Night Country, season 1 is untouched. It is still there. You can still fucking watch it. Like, I saw someone say, because there's been a lot of negative backlash this season online, and a lot of it is like your usual suspects who are just like upset that it's about women. But someone was like, Night Country totally tarnishes the legacy of True Detective season 1. It's like, nah, man, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't touch it at all. Like, you're dumb if you think that. You're an unintelligent person if you believe that.
Yeah, seriously. Like, it's an anthology series. Like, it's untouched. Like you can say that about so many different series too. Of like, season 4 of Fargo was terrible. It ruined the first season. It's like, no, that doesn't make any sense because they're 2 separate stories entirely.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I would say I'm still positive on the season, and I enjoyed it. But I acknowledge that it wasn't as good as the first, and there's some shortcomings and some things that I think could have been better.
Yes, I would say it does not all quite click into place to the degree that I would like it, but I would recommend it for the performances, the atmosphere, and just the general look of the show itself. I thought it was very well done. So do you want to hop into spoilers at this point and just get going?